The elevator chimed that soft, polite ding that screams luxury. I adjusted my tie in the polished brass reflection of the doors. My hands were shaking just a little. They looked tired. There were bags under my eyes that no amount of cold water could wash away this morning. But it didn't matter. Not today. Today wasn't about me. It wasn't about the double shifts I'd pulled at the warehouse for the last 6 years. It wasn't about the back pain that flared up every time it rained. It was about Elena. It was about the gold lettering I was about to see on the frosted glass doors of the 40th floor. Elena Vance, senior partner. I looked down at the bouquet in my arms. Peonies, pale pink, tight buds just starting to open. They cost me $80. That was a week of groceries back when we started. Now it was a drop in the bucket, or at least that's what I told myself. I shifted the weight of the flowers inside the bouquet. Tucked between the stems was a velvet box diamond earrings. I had sold my father's vintage Fender Stratocaster to buy them. It hurt to let that guitar go. I'd taught myself to play on it. It was the last thing I had of him, but seeing Elena's face light up, that would be worth it. She didn't know I was coming. She told me the grand opening for the new firm was strictly for investors and senior partners. It's going to be boring. Mark, she had said this morning, applying her lipstick in the hallway mirror. She didn't look at me. She rarely looked at me these days. Just old men talking about tort reform. You'd hate it. I could come for moral support, I'd offered. Holding out her coffee, she took the cup without touching my hand. Don't be silly. Stay home. Order a pizza. Watch the game. She patted my cheek. It felt patronizing. Like you pat a golden retriever that managed not to pee on the rug. I'll see you tonight, she said. And the door clicked shut, but I couldn't stay away. This was her dream, our dream. I stepped out of the elevator. The hallway smelled like new carpet and expensive cologne. The air conditioning was freezing. I walked softly, the solace of my work. Boots polished as best as I could get them squeaked faintly on the marble. I hoped I didn't look out of place. I was wearing my wedding suit. It was 5 years old, a little tight in the shoulders now. I turned the corner. There it was, the double glass doors at the end of the hall. The lights were dimmed inside. I could see silhouettes moving against the backdrop of the city skyline. The glitter of the city lights looked like diamonds scattered on black velvet. I smiled. She made it. We made. Heidi walked closer. I wanted to see her face before I walked in. I wanted to catch that moment of triumph she'd have when she thought no one was watching. I stopped about 10 feet from the door. It was open a crack. Just an inch. Laughter spilled out, the clinking of crystal glasses. Speech. Speech. A man's voice boomed, deep, authoritative. I froze. I knew that voice. Gavin, her mentor. The man who saw her potential when she was just an intern. I stepped into the shadow of a large potted fern near the entrance. I just wanted to hear her speak, then I'd walk in. Okay. Elena's voice floated out. It sounded different, smoother, lower. It didn't sound like the voice that yelled at me about leaving socks on the floor. It sounded seductive. I want to propose a toast, Elena said. I leaned in, straining to hear. To new beginnings, she said, and to shedding dead weight. Dead weight. Maybe she meant her old job. Maybe she meant the bad economy to us. Gavin said. I heard the distinct sound of glass touching glass. You know, Elena said, her voice dropping to a murmur. But the hallway was so silent. It carried like a scream. I couldn't have done this without you. Gavin, I just provided the capital. Elena, you provided the talent. No, she insisted. You saved me. I gripped the flowers tighter. The thorns dug into my palm through the paper. Saved her? From what? I was drowning. She continued. Before you, my life was just small gray. I was stuck in a tiny apartment with a man who has no ambition, no vision. My heart stopped. It physically stopped beating for a second. A cold wave washed over me, starting at my scalp and rushing down to my toes. Don't be too hard on the husband. Gavin chuckled. It was a cruel, wet sound. He pays the electric bill, doesn't he? Barely, Elena laughed. That laugh, it was the laugh she used to give me, the one I thought was mine. He's a sweet puppy, she said, but he's useful. He cooks, he cleans. He kept the lights on while I studied, but now? She paused. I could hear the smile in her voice. Now? I've outgrown the puppy. I need a Volf. Is that right? Gavin asked. Silence, then. The sound of movement, fabric rustling, a sharp intake of breath. When are you going to tell him? Gavin asked. Soon, she whispered. Once the firm is stable. Once the ink dries on the partnership agreement. I don't want a messy divorce distracting from the launch. I need him to play the supportive house husband for just a few more months. It looks good for the image. You're cold. Elena, I learned from the best. A sound that shattered me more than the words a kiss, not a peck on the cheek, wet, heavy, passionate eye. Stood there in the hallway. The $80 peonies felt like they weighed 1,000 pounds. The diamond earrings in my pocket felt like burning coals against my hip. Useful puppy dead weight. I looked down at my hands, calloused, rough hands that had scrubbed toilets so she could study for the bar exam, hands that had poured concrete in 90-degree heat so she could have a quiet office to work in. He wanted to kick the door open. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the flowers at them and watch the petals rain down like blood. I took a step forward. My boot squeaked on the marble. Did you hear that? Elena's voice snapped. Sharp alert. Probably just the cleaning crew. Gavin dismissed. Ignore it. I froze. If I walked in there now, I would lose. I would be the crazy, jealous husband interrupting her big moment. She would spin it. She was a lawyer. For God's sake, she argued, for a living. She would make me look like the villain, and I would be the puppy making a mess on the carpet. Noah stepped back, then another step. I turned around. I walked back to the elevator. I didn't press the button immediately. I walked to the trash can near the service exit. I looked at the peonies one last time. Beautiful, delicate. I shoved them into the bin. Face down, I heard the stems snap. I kept the earrings, not because I wanted them, but because I wasn't going to let her have them. I got into the elevator and hit the button for the lobby as the doors closed, shutting out the scent of her success. I saw my reflection again. The man in the mirror was crying. Tears were streaming down his face. Silent and hot, but the eyes weren't sad anymore. They were dead, and then they were angry. The drive home was a blur. I don't remember the traffic. I don't remember the red lights. I just remember the gripping of the steering wheel. My knuckles were white. My truck is an old Ford. The engine rattles when you go over 60 usually. That rattle annoys me tonight. It was the only thing keeping me grounded. Small gray, no ambition. Her words played on a loop in my head. A toxic mixtape. I pulled into the driveway of our rental house. It wasn't much, a 2-bedroom bungalow in the suburbs. The paint was peeling on the porch. The lawn needed mowing, but it was hours or so. I thought. I walked inside. The silence of the house hit me like a physical blow. Usually, this silence was peaceful. It meant I had kept the world at bay so she could focus. I walked into the kitchen. There was a plate on the counter from this morning. Toast crumbs, a smear of jam. She hadn't put it in the dishwasher. I picked it up. For the last 7 years, I would have rinsed this plate. I would have put it in the rack. I would have wiped the counter because Elena was busy. Elena was important. Elena was changing the world. I looked at the plate. I let it drop. It hit the tile floor and shattered. Ceramic shards skittered across the linoleum. I didn't pick them up. I walked over to the fridge. Attached with a magnet was a photo of us. It was from 5 years ago. The day she got accepted into law school. We were at a dive bar. I was holding a pitcher of cheap beer. She was wearing a t-shirt that said, "Future Shark." I looked so happy. I looked so proud. I looked at her eyes in the photo. She was looking at the camera. She wasn't looking at me. Ripped the photo off the fridge. I walked into the living room and sat on the couch. I didn't turn on the lights. I just sat there in the dark, clutching that crumpled photo. I needed to think. I needed to understand how I missed this. How could I be so blind? I closed my eyes and the memories started to flood back. Not the happy ones, the other ones. The ones I had ignored. It started 10 years ago. We were 22 kids. Basically, I wanted to be a graphic designer. I had a portfolio. I had talent. I had an internship lined up at a boutique agency in the city. Elena had nothing but debt and an acceptance letter to a mid-tier law school she couldn't afford. I remember the night she got the tuition bill. We were sitting on the floor of my studio apartment, eating ramen noodles out of the pot because we didn't want to wash bowls. She was crying. "I can't go, Mark," she sobbed. "It's too much. Look at these numbers. I'll be paying this off until I'm 80. She threw the paper across the room. "I should just work at the bank," she said. "My dad can get me a job as a teller. It's safe." Linda looked down at me with pure disdain. "Oh, Sarah," she scoffed, "everything we've done for you. Gregory gave up his bachelor life for you. He settled down and you can't even support his dreams. I pay for everything," I shouted, standing. "Up volume," Linda snapped. "Very unladylike Tuesday," Greg said, standing up and towering over me. The lawyer's office noon, bring the check, or transfer the funds, I don't care how you do it. And if I don't? Greg smiled, it didn't reach his eyes. Then maybe we need to reevaluate this marriage. And since I haven't worked in 3 years, imagine the alimony. Sarah, imagine the legal fees, I'll bleed you dry. He kissed my forehead. Be a good wife, Tuesday. Noon, he walked out. Linda followed him. Shooting me a smug grin, I stood in the kitchen. Shaking, I needed to get out. I grabbed my phone. Destination. Anywhere requesting Uber driver matched. Arthur, when I got into Arthur's car that Saturday, I didn't have a sandwich. I was empty-handed. Collapsed into the back seat and just started crying. I didn't make a sound. I just let the tears fall. Arthur didn't say a word. He didn't turn on the radio. He just drove. He took me to a park by the water. He parked the car and turned off the engine. You don't have to talk, he said softly, but if you hold it in, it turns to poison. I looked at him. He was wearing a thick wool sweater. He looked like the grandfather I never had. He wants everything. I whispered, he wants my savings. He wants me to liquidate my retirement. He threatened to divorce me and take alimony if I don't. Arthur's hands tightened on the wheel. Greg. Yes? And the mother? She's worse. Arthur looked out the window. His jaw was set tight. Sarah. He said carefully, I've been driving a long time. I see a lot of people. I hear a lot of phone calls. What do you mean? Last week, Arthur said, I dropped you off at that restaurant, the Italian place. Yeah, for Greg's birthday. I didn't leave right away. Arthur admitted, I was checking my tire pressure. He paused. A car pulled up, a red convertible. A man got out. He looked exactly like the picture you showed me of Greg. That's his car. I said he wasn't alone, Sarah. My stomach dropped. Who was he with? A woman, young, blonde, very expensive looking. I felt sick. I knew it deep down. I knew it, but that's not the part that worried me. Arthur continued. He turned to face me. His eyes were serious, intense. He kissed her, and then he said something. The window was down. What did he say? Arthur hesitated. He said, just one more week. Maybe Tuesday is the payday. Then we flush the old life down the toilet. The air left my lungs Tuesday, the signing. He's going to take the money. I whispered, he's going to take the 10,000 and he's going to leave. Arthur shook his head. 10,000? Sarah, people don't kill marriages for $10,000, not when they have a cash cow like you. What are you saying? I'm saying, Arthur said darkly, that flush is a very specific word and payday usually means something bigger than a savings account. He reached into his glove box and pulled out a business card. It wasn't an Uber card. It was plain white, no logo, just a name and a number. Arthur P. Henderson, Private Security and Investigations, retired. I stared at the card, then I stared at him. You're a pie? Was. Arthur corrected. For 30 years now, I drive. It keeps me busy. He handed me the card. But I never stopped watching, and Sarah, I've been watching your house. You what? Not like a creeper, he added quickly. I drop you off, I pick you up. I see things. I see who comes and goes. He leaned closer. That lawyer Greg wants you to meet on Tuesday. Have you ever met him? No, I said. Greg set it all up. He said it's his friend from college. What's the address? I pulled up the calendar invite on my phone. 1402 Oak Street, Suite 400. Arthur's face went pale. Sarah. He said 1402 Oak Street isn't a law firm. What is it? It's an abandoned warehouse district. It's slated for demolition next month. The silence in the car was deafening. Maybe he got the address wrong. I stammered. I was trying to find a lifeline. Any logic that didn't involve my husband trying to hurt me, or Arthur said he doesn't want you to be found. Sunday and Monday were a blur of terror every time Greg looked at me. I felt like I was looking at a shark. He was extra nice. He made me pancakes on Sunday. He massaged my shoulders on Monday night. You're so tense. Honey, he whispered in my ear. Just relax. Tomorrow is going to change everything we're going to be. So free. The word sounded like a threat. I texted Arthur constantly. Me. He's asking about my life insurance policy. He says he wants to update the beneficiaries ARTHUR. Do not sign anything. Do not give him access. Me. He's packing a bag, he says. It's for a celebration trip for us after the signing ARTHUR. Check the bag when he's in the shower. I waited until I heard the water running. I crept into the bedroom. The suitcase was open on the bed. I dug through it. Clothes. toiletries, and a folder. I opened the folder. It was a travel itinerary, 2 tickets. To the Cayman Islands, one way leaving Tuesday night at 8 o'clock p.m. Th names on the tickets. Mr. Gregory Miller, Ms. Jessica Vane. Jessica, the blonde, but that wasn't the worst part. Under the tickets was a document, a life insurance claim form already filled out, date of death. Tuesday, October 24th, cause of death. Accidental beneficiary, Gregory Miller. I clamped a hand over my mouth to stop the scream. Today was Monday, October 23 RD. He wasn't just leaving me, he was going to kill me, honey. Greg's voice came from the bathroom. The water had stopped. I shoved the papers back. I closed the suitcase. I ran out of the room, my heart pounding so hard I thought it would explode. I sat on the couch, grabbing a magazine, pretending to read. Greg walked out, a towel around his waist. He was smiling. Did you pack your bag? He asked. Not yet, I said. My voice was surprisingly steady. I'll do it in the morning. Good. He grinned. Make sure you pack something black for a nice dinner, something black like a funeral dress. I texted Arthur, one word, me. Help, which brings us back to the car. Tuesday morning. Greg had left early. He said he had to prep the paperwork with the lawyer. He told me to take an Uber to the address at noon. Don't be late, he had said, kissing me on the cheek. I love you, Sarah. I had walked out of the house at 11:30 a.m. Arthur was waiting. I got in. I handed him the sandwich. I was shaking. Did you call the police? I asked immediately. Arthur started the car. I tried. They said without concrete proof of a threat, just a typed form that isn't signed, they can't do anything. They said it's a civil matter until a crime is committed. A civil matter? I shrieked. He's going to murder me. I know, Arthur said grimly. That's why we're here. We drove in silence for 20 minutes. I watched the city pass by. I looked at the people walking on the sidewalks, drinking coffee, laughing. They had no idea that I was on my way to my execution. Then Arthur pulled onto the shoulder. He locked the doors. He canceled the ride. He played the recording. Listen, Arthur commanded. The little black recorder crackled. Greg's voice. Yeah, she's coming at noon. No. The warehouse is perfect, no cameras, soundproof, unknown male voice. And the body? Greggy. There's a chemical drum in the back, hydrofluoric acid, industrial strength. By the time anyone realizes she's missing, she be sludge. We pour it into the drain. Gone. Unknown male. You're a cold bastard, Greg. Greg. Laughing. I'm a rich bastard. The insurance pays out double for accidental death if the body isn't found for 7 years. But I can access the trust immediately if she's declared missing. Plus, I already transferred her cash accounts this morning. I have her passwords. The recording clicked off. He couldn't breathe. Hydrofluoric acid sludge. This man I slept next to, this man I bought socks for. He wasn't just going to kill me. He was going to erase me. I recorded that this morning. Arthur said, I followed him to the warehouse. I used a long-range parabolic microphone, old pie gear. He looked at me. Sarah, if you go there, you die. So what do we do? I sobbed. If I go home, he comes for me. If I run, he finds me. He has my money. He has everything. Arthur's face hardened. He reached into the back seat, into a gym bag I hadn't noticed. He pulled out a thick envelope. He doesn't have everything, Arthur said. What is that? Yesterday, when you told me he had your passwords. Arthur said, I have a friend, a guy I used to work with in cyber crimes. I asked him to do a little intervention. Arthur opened the envelope. It was a bank statement, my bank statement balance. $0, I screamed. He took it. He already took it. Read the next line, Arthur said calmly. I looked down. Transfer to Arthur P. Henderson escrow account. I looked up at him. You took my money? I moved it. Arthur corrected. Before Greg could log in this morning, I moved every cent. Your savings, your checking, your retirement. It's all in a secure holding account that only you can access with your fingerprint. He handed me a tablet scan. Your thumb ID, DCCSS granted balance, $84,200,000. I burst into tears. Relief washed over me so hard I felt dizzy. He's broke. Arthur said, a savage grin appearing on his face. Greg is waiting in that warehouse for a payday that isn't coming, and he probably borrowed money from some bad people to set this up. So we just leave? I asked. No. Arthur said. He unlocked the car doors. We don't just leave, we finish this. He reached into his glove box and pulled out a pistol. A Glock. Arthur. I have a carry permit? he said, and I called my old buddies at the precinct this recording. He tapped the little black device. This is conspiracy to commit murder. This is admissible. The police are coming. They're meeting us there, Arthur said. But we have to bait the trap. Greg needs to think you're coming. He needs to admit it to your face while the cops are listening. He looked at me. Can you do this, Sarah? Can you look him in the eye one last time? I thought about the acid eye, thought about the white rug eye, thought about the years of insults. I wiped my tears, I fixed my hair. Let's go get the bastard, I said. Arthur smiled. He put the car in drive. That's my girl now. Eat your sandwich, you'll need the energy. The warehouse was a rotting skeleton of a building, broken windows, graffiti, weeds growing through the concrete. It looked like a horror movie, said Arthur. Park the Camry around the block. The police are in position. He whispered, tapping an earpiece he had put in. They have the perimeter surrounded. SWAT is at the back entrance. He handed me a small button, panic button. He said, if he touches you, press it, we breach. Where will you be? I'll be right behind you in the shadows. I got out of the car. The rain had stopped, but the air was cold. I walked toward the rusty metal door of Suite 400. My heels clicked on the pavement. Click, clack, click, clack. I pushed the door open. It was dark. Inside, the smell of dust and chemicals was overwhelming. Greg? I called out. Back here, honey. His voice echoed. It sounded cheerful, too cheerful. I walked deeper into the gloom. In the center of the vast, empty space, there was a single table, a chair, and a large, blue plastic barrel. Greg was standing next to it. He was wearing a plastic apron over his suit. Sorry about the mess, he smiled, spreading his arms. The Lear is running a bit late, but we can get started. I stopped 10 feet away from him. What's in the barrel, Greg? I asked. He didn't blink. Cleaning supplies for the renovation. Renovation? I tilted my head. Or demolition? Greg's smile faltered for a second. What do you mean? I know this place is scheduled to be torn down, Greg. He took a step toward me. You've been doing your homework. Sarah, that's unlike you. I've had a lot of time to think. I said, about us, about the money. Right, the money. He held out a hand. Did you bring the check? No. The air in the room changed. The temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. Sarah, Greg said, his voice low and dangerous. Give me the check. I don't have it. Greg, because the money isn't in my account anymore. Greg froze. He pulled out his phone. He frantically tapped on the screen. I watched his face go from confusion to shock to pure, unadulterated rage. Where is it? He screamed. The sound bounced off the metal walls. Where is my money? It's my money, I said calmly, and it's somewhere you'll never touch it. Greg threw his phone on the ground. It shattered. He looked at the barrel. Then he looked at me. It doesn't matter. He snarled. He reached behind his back. He pulled out a knife, a hunting knife. I don't need the money to enjoy this. He said, I've been wanting to shut that mouth of yours for 3 years. He lunged at me. Didn't scream. I didn't really press the button in my pocket, and I watched Arthur step out from behind a concrete pillar. End of the ride. Greg? Arthur said. Greg spun around. Arthur raised his pistol. BNG. He didn't shoot Greg. He shot the knife right out of Greg's hand. Greg howled in pain, clutching his hand. Police. Get down. Get down. Suddenly, the warehouse was filled with light flashlights. Beams cut through the darkness. Men in tactical gear swarmed from the shadows on the ground. Now, Greg fell to his knees. He looked small, pathetic. He looked at me. Sarah! Sarah, tell them. It was a joke. It was a prank. I walked over to him. I looked down at the man who had promised to love me until death. It's a civil matter. Greg, I said coldly. Then I turned to Arthur. Can we go now? I'm starving. Arthur holstered his gun. He tipped his cap. I know a great place for a sandwich. The trial was short. The recording was damning. The chemical drum, which was indeed full of acid, was the nail in the coffin. Greg got 25 years for conspiracy to commit murder, attempted murder, and fraud his mother, Linda. It turns out she knew she was an accomplice. She got 10 years. Jessica, the mistress, she turned state's witness. She told the jury everything about how Greg planned to spend my money. I didn't go to the sentencing. I didn't need to see him again. I was too busy. I sold the house. I sold the furniture. I sold the white rug. I took my $842,000, and I started my own marketing firm. But the first thing I did, the very first thing, was buy a Carno for me, for Arthur. I met him at the coffee shop where we used to meet. He was standing there, Looking at his old Camry, it had 300,000 miles on it, ready for lunch. He asked, "In a minute." I said, "I have something for you." I handed him a set of keys. "What's this?" Look behind you, parked at the curb, was a brand new black Mercedes S-Class leather seats, massage function, top of the line. "Sarah," Arthur gasped. "I can't, this is too much." "You saved my life, Arthur," I said. Hugging him, "Consider it a tip." He looked at the car, tears welled up in his eyes. "Does it have a good sound system?" he asked, wiping his eyes. "The best." "Good," he smiled, "because I have some new classical playlists." "Well then," I said, opening the back door of the Mercedes driver, "I'm ready to go." Arthur laughed, a full belly laugh. He put on his cap. He got into the driver's seat. "Where to, boss?" Anywhere, Arthur," I said, looking out at the bright, sunny day. "Just drive." And as we pulled away, leaving the shadows of my past behind, I realized something. Family isn't blood. Family isn't who you marry. Family is the person who locks the doors when you're trying to walk into a trap. Family is the person who likes your turkey sandwiches, and sometimes family is your Uber driver.